Okay, welcome to the deep dive. You sent us some truly fascinating material this time, asking us to really dig into it. And wow, it tackles something pretty interesting.
Yeah, it dives into something most of us just assume is good for you, right? Fruit. But it presents this surprising counter-argument about leg health, mobility,
Right.
specifically for folks over 60.
Right. It totally flips that script. The core question this material asks is, what if feeling breathless on the stairs or having those heavy, stiff legs, what if that's not just getting older?
Exactly. Could it be linked to certain foods? Even like healthy fruits. That's the provocative idea here.
It really is. So our mission for this deep dive, unpack that. Why did this source suggest some fruits might be problematic as we age? Which 5 fruits are we talking about?
Why does it single them out? Then, crucially, look at the alternatives it suggests and the practical tips, too.
Because the potential payoff here, according to this material, could be pretty significant. Maybe insights into walking stronger, better circulation, less joint pain, maybe even sleeping better.
Yeah, and ultimately maintaining independence.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into it.
Right. So first big question. Why would fruit, which we think of as, nutritional powerhouses, suddenly become an issue after 60?
Well, the core idea presented is that our bodies just change fundamentally. Digestion, it tends to slow down, circulation can weaken,
Uh-huh.
and importantly, our sensitivity to things like sugar and acid, that can increase.
So the whole processing system just isn't quite as robust as it used to be.
That seems to be the argument. This material mentions research, citing places like Harvard Medical School, Tufts University, suggesting seniors process compounds fructose, glucose, acids really differently than younger adults do.
Ah, okay. So it's not the fruit itself changing, it's us, is how our bodies handle the fruit changing.
That's the key distinction this source is making. So even foods we generally think of as healthy can have metabolic effects in an aging body that are just harder to manage, potentially becoming, well, the source calls them hidden enemies.
Hidden enemies. Wow. Yeah, that's a strong phrase.
Okay, so based on that premise, this material flags 5 specific fruits, suggests people over 60 might want to be a bit more cautious with them, at least regarding leg health. Let's go through the list. What's number 1?
First one up is pineapple. The material labels it a double-edged sword.
Okay, double-edged sword. But I always think of pineapple and bromelain, fighting inflammation. That sounds like the opposite.
It does seem contradictory, doesn't it? The source acknowledges the bromelain, absolutely, but it also points out pineapple has significant natural sugars and citric acid.
Right.
And the mechanism suggested here is that for seniors, this combination might actually trigger inflammation and dilate small blood vessels rather than fighting it.
So instead of helping, it could actually lead to swelling, aching in the legs. That really is a double edge.
Precisely, according to this source. And it includes an interesting anecdote, apparently. Actress Helen Mirren stopped eating pineapple after 65, said she noticed increased joint pain,
Oh, wow.
and reportedly found relief when she switched to cherries instead. Huh. A very specific example. Okay, what's the second fruit on this watch list?
Bananas. This one gets the label quick energy, slow damage.
Bananas. I mean, they're the classic go-to for potassium, right? Quick energy boost. What's the supposed issue?
Well, the concern highlighted here, especially for older adults who might have a, let's say, diminished insulin response,
Okay.
is the high concentration of fast-absorbing sugars. This material suggests that quick sugar spike can actually impair the function of the tiny blood vessels, the capillaries, particularly in the legs.
Impaired capillaries. How
Yeah.
would that show up, according to the source?
It suggests it can lead to that feeling of heaviness, maybe some swelling, general discomfort, even leg cramps. It mentions a case study, a Mr. Nguyen Van Cang, 72, from Vietnam. Ate a banana every day, had persistent swelling and cramps.
Okay.
Apparently, his situation improved quite a bit when he cut back to just half a banana and made sure to pair it with some healthy fats. Led to better sleep, no more cramps, supposedly.
That does draw a pretty clear line the way they present it. Okay, what's fruit number 3?
Grapes. Described here as a sweet but silent sugar for gout.
Grapes. They seem so harmless, a little easy to pop. Maybe too easy to pop.
That's part of the potential issue raised, yeah.
Yeah.
Easy to overdo it. And they're high in fructose. The claim is that the liver converts a big fructose load into uric acid.
And uric acid, when it builds up, can crystallize in the joints.
Exactly. Leading to gout, chronic joint pain. Often hits the feet, ankles.
Right.
And this material even brings in a historical angle, Benjamin Franklin. notes he had severe gout in his 60s.
Oh, interesting.
And apparently he linked it himself to sweet indulgences, which included sweet fruits like grapes and wine, found relief by cutting back on the grapes.
Another specific story to illustrate their point. Okay, number 4.
Watermelon. This one's called the sweet hydration trap.
Okay, hydration trap. But watermelon is like 90% water, isn't it? How's that a trap?
It is mostly water, yeah. But this material points out it has a very high glycemic index.
So despite all that water, it still causes a pretty sharp spike in blood sugar.
That's the assertion. And that sudden rise, particularly for older folks whose glucose regulation might be a bit slower, could potentially damage those tiny capillaries feeding the legs and feet. Again, the capillary issue.
Seems like a recurring theme.
It does. And there's another case mentioned, a 66-year-old woman in California, chronic thigh weakness. This material says when she stopped her daily watermelon and switched to things like cantaloupe and papaya, her strength came back within about a month.
Wow, that's quite a reported turnaround.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the 5th and final fruit on this list?
Oranges, referred to as the acidic assault in disguise.
Oranges.
Yeah.
But vitamin C, that's their whole thing.
It is. They're packed with vitamin C, but they're also very rich in citric acid. And this source suggests that acid can be irritating.
Irritating how?
To sensitive stomach linings, potentially, and maybe even joint tissues in older adults. The idea is that the natural mucosal protection might be reduced with age, and it specifically calls out orange juice as potentially even worth less fiber, often added sugars on top of the acid.
Makes sense.
Less buffer.
Yeah. And this material makes a connection, maybe a bit speculative, to Steve Jobs. His biographer noted chronic stomach issues during his fruitarian phase, which was heavy on citrus.
Right.
The source relates this to acid overload, claiming the potential damage is just more pronounced in seniors.
So those are the 5. Pineapple, banana, grapes, watermelon, oranges. According to this source, one's to perhaps reconsider or moderate after 60 for leg health.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, and this is important, this source doesn't just leave it there. It doesn't just say avoid these. It offers alternatives. Plenty of them.
Yes, which is helpful. It pivots to what are considered better choices, based on the same premise about aging bodies. Let's run through those.
Okay, first up, blueberries. Noted for potentially helping circulation.
Easy enough. Add to oatmeal, yogurt. Suggested uses are simple. Then cherries, they came up earlier with Helen Mirren, listed for anti-inflammatory benefits. Right. Suggested just as a snack, or even making cherry tea. Papaya is highlighted too, specifically for being easy to digest.
That ties back to the slow digestion point. Good one for dessert, maybe. Avocado's on the list too. Always forget it's technically a fruit.
Yeah. Listed for stabilizing blood sugar.
Which directly counters that sugar spike concern from bananas and watermelon. Suggests pairing it with other fruit slices. Interesting.
Then strawberries. Still rich in vitamin C, like oranges, but noted as being low in acid.
So direct swap idea there. Good for salads, snacks. And the last one.
Pomegranate. Listed for potentially enhancing blood flow.
Okay. Juice or seeds, it suggests.
But it's not just what to eat, is it? This material also gives practical guidelines on how to eat fruit smarter, especially if you're over 60.
Yes. The simple rules. First one. Try not to eat fruit on an empty stomach.
Which probably helps slow down that sugar absorption we talked about, right?
Makes sense. Second, pair fruit with healthy fats or protein.
Again, same goal, blunts the sugar impact. Seems logical.
Third, watch your portion sizes, especially with those high GI fruits like watermelon.
Yeah, just basic moderation. Seems key when your body's processing things differently. And fourth, avoid canned or packaged fruit juices, strictly.
We touched on that with orange juice. Less fiber, often hidden sugars. Yeah, this source really advises against them for older adults.
Definitely. And then to kind of pull it all together, the material offers some sample meal ideas and revisits those success stories.
Right. It gives like a little 3-day plan snapshot.
Yeah.
Shows how you can mix and match these ideas for different goals like circulation or inflammation control or leg strength. Simple stuff. Oatmeal with blueberries, yogurt with cherries, pairing avocado with fruit.
And it reinforces the potential impact with those examples we discussed earlier. Mr. Ben, 67, whose gout symptoms reportedly improved drastically, climbing stairs easily again after swapping grapes for cherries and cutting back on bananas.
Yeah, and Mrs. Heen, 70, whose foot swelling linked in the source to orange juice and watermelon, apparently vanished after she switched to strawberries and avocado. Better sleep too.
These stories, as presented, really seem to highlight how these seemingly small changes might actually make a noticeable difference.
They definitely support the core message here. Adjusting which fruits you eat and how you eat them could potentially lead to real improvements in leg comfort and mobility as you age.
So thinking about you, the listener who shared this with us, what does it all boil down to? We've done this deep dive, and it seems the takeaway from this material is that fruits we usually see as universally healthy might need maybe a second look after 60.
Yeah, a more nuanced look. It's not presented as something to be scared of, not about fearing fruit at all.
No, not at all. It's more about becoming perhaps a bit more discerning, wiser with choices as your body inevitably changes.
Exactly. It suggests a small shift, swapping pineapple for cherries, maybe,
Yeah.
or just making sure you have some nuts or yogurt with your banana could potentially make a real difference. Comfort, mobility, that feeling in your legs.
Aging isn't painted here as just decline. It's framed more like a stage where understanding your body's specific changing needs gives you power. Knowledge about how foods interact with your system right now, that lets you make more informed choices.
Which really leaves us with a final thought, something for you to chew on. If adjusting something as simple as which fruits you eat and how you eat them could potentially impact something so fundamental like walking easily, like staying independent based on what this material suggests, what other common ideas about healthy eating might be worth questioning as we go through different life stages?
Yeah. What other small dietary shifts or even lifestyle tweaks might have surprisingly big benefits that maybe we haven't really considered yet? Something to think about.